Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to today's video. Now we are celebrating something very special today because I mean a lot of you guys have already noticed, but we just hit a very exciting YouTube milestone here over on the channel. So we just hit 100,000 subscribers, which honestly, like, it feels so unreal. I have been doing YouTube for like quite a few years, and you know, as YouTubers, we love the content we're making. We're creating videos out of passion, and so you'll hear everyone say like, oh, don't focus on the numbers, it's not about the numbers, and for the most part it isn't. But when you do hit this just unbelievable milestone, it's fun to just celebrate your achievements. 100,000 on YouTube is actually like the first milestone where YouTube actually kind of acknowledges you and gives you something. So it's just a really cool feeling, and I'm so proud of how far we've come. I love this community so much, and I can't believe we've grown this community to 100,000 readers now. So first of all, for everyone who is here on this video, if you've watched a video, if you've liked, if you've commented, if you've subscribed, thank you so much. Genuinely, obviously would not be here without any of you. So we're going to be doing a few celebrations, a few fun things to celebrate, some community oriented things, some just celebration things, some reflection things. So make sure if you aren't subscribed, make sure you are so you don't miss any of the fun celebrations that are coming up. But first things first, we're gonna do a little bit of a book haul. I feel like as readers, as book lovers, like what better way to celebrate something than just buying a bunch of books? It's the thing that we love doing the most. It's the thing that has gotten us here. It's the thing that we're all here for. So I've got a stack of books behind me that have been recently acquired. I have done a little bit of book shopping myself, but we're gonna do a bit of a combination book haul where we go through a lot of books that I've just purchased for myself, and then also some books that I've received either as gifts from publishers or you guys or friends or family, etc. So get comfy, grab a snack, let's do a little book haul together. All right, let's get into it. So this first book, I think a lot of you guys are going to be excited about this one. I don't know how I still haven't read this one, but it's been a long time coming, and that is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I finally did grab myself a copy of this. This is a standalone fantasy that I'm so excited to get into because I've heard so many just wonderful things about this book. I've heard it's a book where you will read it and just kind of be like, what the heck just happened, but in the best way. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm trying to go into this book not knowing too much about it because I have heard that the best way to dive into Piranesi is going into it a little bit blind. But from what I do know, we have a setting in this book that is just like endless corridors, feels very liminal, and there's just a mystery behind like why our character is in this house, how they got there. There might be some kind of fragmented or missing memory stuff going on in here, which you guys know is my absolute favorite thing, is a play on memory. And I think there's a mysterious figure called the Other or something that pops up every once in a while and interacts with our protagonist. And it's just a big book of like, I don't know what's going on. That's what I've heard, but in the absolute best way. So I'm really excited to dive into this one. I think it's going to be absolutely wonderful. Okay, this next one is a sequel that I immediately purchased after I read the first book, and that is Kingdom of Claw by Demi. So this is book 2 in the Ashen series. Book 1 was The Road of Bones, and I'm so excited. I feel so giddy whenever I think about these characters in the story because it's a romantasy that I actually really enjoyed reading and felt like I wanted to continue. I feel like with a lot of newer romantasies, I'll kind of read book 1 and I'll be like, okay, that was a good time, it was fun, but I don't feel like it's giving me enough to like want to continue the series, not enough uniqueness, not enough creativity in the characters or the plot, etc. But I loved The Road of Bones a lot. It wasn't the perfect book for me, and it was honestly kind of a little bit of a trust the process situation because there were some things in the romance that I really was not jiving with, but like it was just, I had to trust it. And by the end of The Road of Bones, I was like, okay, I see the direction we're going with this, and it clicked and I loved it, and I'm so excited to dive into book 2. So yeah, I did pick up Kingdom of Claw. I wanted to pick this one up through Book of the Month actually because because my first book, The Road of Bones, is a Book of the Month edition, and they have actually been getting the rest of the series on Book of the Month. Like Kingdom of Claw was in Book of the Month, and then the third book, forget what it's called, but that one's on Book of the Month as well. But when I went on to Book of the Month to add the second book to my cart, I realized this second book is actually now sold out. The third one is still available, but the second one's gone, so I'm not gonna have a full Book of the Month matching set of the series, but you know what? It's okay. The inside of the book is what counts, the content of it. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this one. It's a Viking romantasy also, for any of you who are not familiar with this series, and I did just recently read this in a reading vlog where I started a whole bunch of new popular series. So if you want to hear more about this one and my thoughts on the first book, definitely check out that reading vlog. But yeah, I'm excited to dive into that one as a sequel. I couldn't do a giant book haul without picking up a new Brandon Sanderson book, because since finishing the Stormlight archive, I actually have not picked up another Sanderson, which is a little bit wild to me because I was going on a big streak of reading at least one Brandon Sanderson a month while I was kind of reading through his series and even through a bunch of his standalones, and I do still have the Arcanum Unbounded on my shelf, and I still need to get into a whole bunch of those short stories. But for just another standalone to pick up that's not a short story, like a full length, I actually picked up the Sunlit Man. This is one that I've heard from a lot of you guys I need to pick up after reading Wind and Truth. I've heard there are a lot of kind of tie-ins, and after reading I think Mistborn and Wind and Truth, this one's a good one to pick up from there. This world does sound very, very interesting. We're in a world where I think like it's very hot because the sun is like very, very powerful, but there's this whole thing of like if you stay still for too long, the sun will like burn you, it will kill you, and so you have to keep moving. It says failure means a quick death incinerated by the sun, or a lifetime as a mindless slave tormented by the consequences of his past. Nomad, our protagonist, must fight not only for his survival but also for his very soul. So he's trapped on this planet, and the planet will kill anyone who doesn't stop moving, so he has to constantly keep moving. But it sounds very, very high stakes. It sounds very exciting, fast paced. Like, I don't want to be burnt by the sun. I don't want to become a mindless slave tormented by the consequences of my past either. So yeah, I feel like this one's gonna be a fun one. I'm curious to see how this one ties into the rest of the Cosmere and to just get more connections throughout this universe. So I'm excited to read The Sunlit Man. I picked up an entire trilogy, you guys, an entire trilogy plus some bonus content, which I don't really know what the bonus content of it all is. So if you know, let me know. But I picked up the Legend trilogy by Marie Lu. This is the one that a lot of you guys have been telling me to read from her. I loved Red City so much. Perfect, 5 stars, no notes. I read The Kingdom of Back, which is a standalone, which wasn't perfect for me, but I did really enjoy it, and it just kind of cemented to me that I really, really love Marie Lu's writing style, and I think this Legend trilogy is kind of her most popular series. So I did pick up the entire series. It all came in a box set together, and you know, sometimes there is a risk of picking up an entire series without reading the first one just to get an idea if you'll actually like that series, but I think with Marie Lu it's almost just guaranteed at this point that I will love it. I know I love her writing style. A lot of you guys really love the series as well, so I'm just putting full faith into it. I'm trusting it, and it's also cheaper per book to pick up the entire box set as a whole. So I have Legend, I have Prodigy, and I have Champion. And then this one is something that I don't really know what it is. It's this tiny little like booklet almost thing called Life Before Legend, and it says Stories of the Criminal and the Prodigy, which are those characters? I don't know yet. I haven't met anyone in this book yet, and I'm honestly diving into this world blind as well because it's just, you know, I know this author. I'm more just picking up the series based on recommendation and based on this author that I love. But yeah, I don't know what this little booklet thing is. I don't really want to look too deep into it just in case it gives me spoilers for the rest of the series. But if you guys know what this is, it looks like it says contents, episode 1, day, episode 2, June. So there are 2 short stories in here, I guess, and I don't know what they are. But I am excited to dive into this trilogy. All right, you guys, so excited about this next one. I did pick up Daughters of Shandong by Eve J. Chung, which is a book that I've been I think I've told you guys I want to pick up this book like at least 10 times since reading The Young Will Remember, which is a historical fiction by this same author that I read and absolutely loved. It was so well done. And I've actually heard from a lot of you guys who have read Eve J. Chung that this one is actually even better. It's her debut novel, but apparently this one is phenomenal. And so I'm really excited about this one. So this is another historical fiction. It's inspired by a true story. It says daughters are the Ang family's curse. In 1948, civil war ravages the Chinese countryside, but in rural Shandong, the wealthy land-owning Angs are more concerned with their lack of an heir. Haig is the eldest of 4 girls and spends her days looking after her sisters. Headstrong Dee, who is just a year younger, learns to hide in plain sight, and their mother, abused by the family for failing to birth a boy, finds her own small acts of rebellion in the kitchen. As the communist army closes in on their town, the rest of the prosperous house flees, leaving behind the girls and their mother because they view them as useless mouths to feed. Without an Ang male to punish, the land-seizing cadres choose Haig to stand trial for her family's crimes. She barely survives the brutality. Realizing the worst is yet to come, the women plan their escape. Starving and penniless, but resourceful, they forge travel permits and embark on a 1,000-mile journey to confront the family that abandoned them. I love a family story. I think what Eve J. Chung did so well in The Young Will Remember is showing the real lives of these humans in these hard times, and this sounds like a story that will do just that, but in a different situation, obviously. So I'm very excited. I love that there's a focus on like the women, the daughters, the mother in the story, so I think this one's going to be an absolutely wonderful read. A new-ish release that I recently picked up is The Midnight Train by Matt Haig. I've been anticipating this one. I did read The Midnight Library quite a few years ago before I even started making booktube videos, and this one seems to be a very similar concept. It's not technically a sequel to the story, I don't think, but it's kind of like a story that fits in the same collection because it explores kind of similar topics, kind of based on the same kind of a concept. So the kind of idea behind this one is when you're on the brink of death, your life will flash before your eyes, and in this one I think we get that in the form of a train. Like you're on a train kind of riding through memories in your life maybe, and as you encounter your memories you can decide to like move on from it, keep it untouched, or you can re-experience it and maybe change certain things like how you acted in those moments to change what happened in your life. Because it says years later, on the brink of his own death, a train arrives. It can take Wilbur back in time to relive his most important moments. Soon he realizes how much of his life he would have changed. So yeah, it's a story about reflection on your life, thinking back, seeing things that you regret and seeing things that, you know, like if you could relive your life, what would you change? What would you do differently about it? So this just sounds very wonderful. Excited to dive into it, and hopefully I love it as much as I did The Midnight Library. We actually have 4 book of the months next. Now the funny thing about book of the month is like sometimes you'll see that I'll do a sponsored video with book of the month. This one is not sponsored, by the way, but I do also have my own book of the month subscription. So when I do work with book of the month, and I love working with them so much, they actually allow me to choose 2 of their monthly selection of that month. But on those months where I do have sponsored work with them, I also still have my subscription. So on those sponsored months, I'll get 2 book of the months, but I'll also likely pick up at least 1 or 2 with my own subscription. So some months I end up getting like anywhere between 3 to 5 book of the months in total. And in this past month, I did end up picking 4. So the 2 that I picked up for my sponsored video, which I guess you probably know about these 2, are number 1, Everything Was Beautiful and Nothing Hurt by Ben Reeves. I'm so excited to dive into this one. I've heard so many wonderful things, and since picking it up, I have heard so many wonderful things, and I've, you know, a lot of you guys have read this since I've picked it up and have said, Jamie, you are absolutely going to love this book. So I'm very excited. In this one, it's a bit of a magical realism story. We follow Travis, who is deaf, but he's just a regular guy. Like he lives basically a regular life. He wears jeans and a t-shirt. He doesn't look at all like the Grim Reaper or anything, but what he does is that he shows up in the moments of people's deaths and he offers them comfort in their final moments. So that's him, but he has developed this detachment to death, this very stoic look on it because he's around it so much. So he lives his life kind of very detached, but he meets his neighbors one day. They're down the hall. There is a midwife and her daughter, and as he continues to spend more time with them, he starts getting these reminders of what life is actually about because, you know, with the midwife being on the other side of the life cycle of, you know, helping it with birth and all of that, he just starts seeing a whole other side of it, and it's not just like death all the time anymore. And yeah, I've heard this one's really emotional. I've heard it's beautiful, and I'm just so excited to read this one. So there's that. I also did pick up Tropesick by Lauren Okie. This one is a contemporary romance, and it follows two characters who I think are hired to ghostwrite. Is it a fiction book they're ghostwriting? Yeah, they're ghostwriting a love story together, but as they start working with one another, as they kind of start getting through their fictional story, they start realizing that their real lives with each other are mirroring the tropes that they're writing about. So like they'll write about something and then it'll actually happen between the two of them. So it's a little bit of, yeah, this quirky, fun, magical realism story. And I've been finding lately with a lot of contemporary romance, I've been loving a little bit of a twist to it, whether it's magical realism or yeah, if it's something like this where there's just something a little bit different happening. I've been enjoying the creative side of contemporary romance. And so I'm really excited about this one. I've heard great things about this author, never read her, but definitely sounds very promising. And then for the two book of the months that I picked up on my own subscription, I did choose The Shampoo Effect by Jenny Jackson. Another one that I've heard really, really good things about. But this one is set in Massachusetts. We follow Caroline and she falls head over heels for Van Whitaker, a fleece-wearing, litter-collecting kayak enthusiast with long floppy hair and the personality of a border collie. Born and raised in this picturesque coastal village, Van runs with the same crowd he did growing up. His ex-girlfriend, Bailey, a beautiful girl who attracts men like moths to a flame, Augusta, old money, horsey, and snobbish, and Fran, surrounded by brothers and sons, too fed up with boys to ever consider marrying them. And I think we just kind of follow this messy friend group. It's summery, we spend long afternoons sunbathing, we run wild through the marshes, but oh my goodness, Bailey, the beautiful girl who attracts moths like a flame, finds that she is pregnant with Van's baby. Van's the boyfriend, by the way, Caroline's boyfriend, not Bailey's boyfriend, and the delicate balance of this group's friendship is thrown off. So, messy story. It says it's filled with long-held secrets, heartbreak, and works the entire town of Greenhead into a lather. So, sounds like a great time. Sounds like we're going to be following a whole bunch of messy characters in this one. So, I'm excited. Definitely sounds like a really, really good summer read. Speaking of contemporary romances with a fun magical realism twist, The Mashup by Laura Marie Meyers. This one sounds like so much fun to me because remember the game that a lot of us used to play in our childhood called MASH, where you like put who your husband's gonna be, what kind of house you're gonna live in, what salary you're gonna get, what car you're gonna drive, how many kids you're gonna have, stuff like that, and then you go through it. It's just like an imaginary game where you go through and pick, like decide what your future is gonna be and leave part of it up to chance. I played a lot of MASH in my childhood. So when I read the premise of this one, I immediately got so excited. So in this one, we follow Ruby, and I think she's kind of like living a tough time in her life. So she's 35. It's her birthday, and she gets broken up with on her 35th birthday. So kind of all her life plans and her goals have come to a standstill, have come crashing down, and Ruby doesn't know what to do. But one day she wakes up to find herself in a MASH game that she created for herself when she was like in 7th grade. So as she navigates the magical world she dreamed up at 13, she wonders if by finally throwing out her rules, she just might find her way home to the life and love she deserves. I think in this MASH life that she's found herself in, it says she's settled in a Technicolor mansion. She's driving a tie-dyed Jeep, running a roller disco restaurant, living out her childhood dreams come true with one exception. According to the game, Ruby's other half is supposed to be Penn Hayes, her brother's annoying and annoyingly handsome best friend. With no rules to follow and desperate to return to reality, Ruby makes her best guess at an escape plan. Win Penn's heart so the game completely comes true and she can go home. Honestly, does that not sound like so much fun? That's the mashup. Okay, we're moving into books that I have been gifted or sent recently. So a bunch of these are from publishers. The first one is The Matchmaker's Cottage by Sloane. This sounds like a really just cozy fall small town romance. So this one follows the owner of a bed and breakfast and also her childhood sweetheart. And I think they come up with a scheme, like her bed and breakfast, I think is not doing very, very well financially, and she doesn't really know what to do. But her childhood sweetheart, which like they're not really on speaking terms right now, he's like not allowed to come near the vicinity of her bed and breakfast usually. He has this plan to turn her bed and breakfast into this kind of like celebrity clients matchmaking service, and he thinks this is going to be a really, really great business idea and thinks it's going to also help save her in. So then the two of them get forced into this forced proximity situation where they have to work together to both save the inn, and then yeah, I mean, it's a romance, so we kind of know what's going to happen between the two of them. This sounds really cozy. I don't know how this matchmaking cottage situation will work, but yeah, sounds like a great one to pick up in the fall for just like a nice, tender, sweet, good time. Okay, this next one was sent to me by the lovely Natalie. So Natalie, if you're watching, thank you so much. But A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos. I'm so excited to read this one. This is a YA fantasy series. It's the start to a trilogy, I believe. And the premise of this world just sounds really cool to me. In our magic system, we have mirrors, and I think they act as, let's see what this says. Ophelia, our main character, possesses two special gifts: a talent for seeing into an object's past and the ability to travel through mirrors. Yeah, they kind of act as this portal kind of a thing. Her peaceful existence is interrupted when she is promised in marriage to the taciturn Thorn, a member of a powerful clan from a cold and distant arc. Yeah, I feel like this world just sounds so whimsical and magical to me. I love the idea of mirrors acting as portals. I love the idea of her being able to see into an object's past. Like, I need to know what that all means. Like, how much can she determine from an object's past? Like, can she just sit in the POV, in the perspective of an object, and see it as it's passed around and listen in on conversations that are happening within that object or something? I don't know. It sounds really interesting. I need to know how this world works. It's also just a gorgeous book. I believe this one was originally written in French and then translated to English. So I'm curious to see how the writing style feels, because I feel like any book that's written in another language and then translated to English, like you can kind of tell, like the tone of it is a little bit different. I, for example, love when Japanese books are translated into English. I feel like it provides just a little bit more bluntness in ways, but also a lot more whimsy in other ways. I just love the way Japanese language works. So I'm, curious to see what the French translation in this will be like. So excited to read that one. Another one sent to me by the publisher is Flickerstate by F.A. Davidson. Another really creative, fun sounding magic system. So this is a YA fantasy standalone. We love a standalone. And the magic system in this is based in probability. So we have navigators in this world and they can manipulate probability. Which kind of like just thinking about how this is gonna work breaks my brain a little bit, but I'm curious to see how this author does it. So our protagonist, Nora, and her father are swarmed by these things called flicker beasts, and when a flicker beast bites you, your risk of death, I guess your probability of death, skyrockets. And pretty soon, her father gets sick. So Nora, desperate to find a cure, applies to the Academy of Navigation, where there are rumors of restricted information on beast bites hidden in the research archives. So we have a really creative sounding magic system that's based on chance and probability and manipulating that, which sounds so cool. We have a quest to cure her father, which is immediately already making me feel for the protagonist, and I think we have trials at some point in this book as well. So kind of just a combination of all those really fun YA fantasy tropes, but mixed in with a magic system that I have no idea how it'll work, but I'm so curious to see. I think it looks like there's going to be something with cards involved in the story as well, which is making me very intrigued. I'm just curious about this one. I need to know what that is all about. Okay, so I've already mentioned a couple times in this video that I love a play on memory. I love memory loss. I love an amnesia trope. And you know what's gonna give me that? Once Again, Always by Amanda Gayle. This is also sent to me by the publisher, but I'm so so excited about this one. So you guys know I read The Good Parts a couple months ago and I've been raving about it. It's another memory loss love story. I don't call it a romance anymore. It's a love story, but I love that one. This one I think will maybe read more like a romance versus like a painful, tragic love story. But in this one, we have a second chance romance following a young woman who wakes up in the hospital with no memory of the past 6 years, only to find that she apparently married the one man she can't stand, her arrogant and infuriating former boarding school rival. That's all you need to say. I'm excited to read this one. I think it's gonna be a great, fun time. This next one, oh my goodness, I'm actually really excited for this. I'm excited for all of the books in this haul, but I did get an early copy from the publisher as well of Winterveil by Ava Reid. So this is the author who wrote A Study in Drowning. I think, what's the one she released earlier this year or last year? It was kind of a darker fantasy read that I didn't get into, but I've heard kind of good things. What was it called? Nocticadia? No, not Noctic. Immortalamina? I don't remember what the name of it is. It's like I'll put the cover of it on the screen so you can take a look. But this one is Winterveil. I believe it's a standalone. Nope, I'm wrong. It says right on the back here. The first in a twisty, darkly romantic dystopian duology that brings the action of Ready Player One, exciting, and the intrigue of The Secret History to a new generation of readers. The only way Ava Reid can. Yes, you go Ava Reid. So this one is Cold War, like spy intelligence meets academic setting, like academic rival setting, I think. And that just has me very interested. So we follow 4 main characters in this one, it looks like. One of them is a disgraced politician from a powerful American dynasty. The second is a coldly brilliant strategist who will sacrifice anything to win. The third is a former pageant queen with a talent that could change the world. And the fourth is an expert female soldier with an enigmatic past and a dangerous secret. And the 4 of them come to this academy called the Valerian Academy, where they will be turned into the next generation of elite assets in a Cold War that's dragged on for nearly a century. I'm so excited about this one. I feel like that idea of, yeah, Cold War meets dystopia meets academic setting, I think just sounds so fun and so interesting. So that's Winterveil. Cannot wait. This next one, These Immortal Truths by Rachelle, Raeta. The publisher actually sent me both of the books in this duology, so I have both of them, but this one intrigued me because it is comped to Addie LaRue, and you know anything that's comped to Addie LaRue will be one that I am interested in. So in this one we follow Anna, and she has lived her entire life in exile ever since the pale shadows on her skin were mistaken for leprosy, and then a single act of kindness towards a beautiful stranger changes her life forever. Suddenly, neither time nor harm can touch her, and Anna strives to embrace a life with boundless potential, one that isn't only about survival. But as decades and centuries pass, she is continually forced to abandon each new life before it has the chance to feel like home. The only constant in her eternal existence is Kieran, the shape-shifting god who gave her immortality. No matter the years or distance, he always finds her when she most needs him. But there's more to immortality than Anna knows, and as she travels the ages, she will discover the beauty and cost of a life without end. I always love a story that dives into immortality and how that actually affects your mental well-being when you're just going through this never-ending life, constantly needing to start over again, not really being able to stay somewhere forever. I love that, and yeah, definitely can see the comparisons to Addie LaRue with this shape-shifting god that has given her this curse but blessing at the same time, and how they're kind of dependent on one another, and they're probably the only 2 people that can understand each other in this immortal, never-ending lifetime. So I'm excited to read this one. It is, yeah, the start to a duology. So These Immortal Truths. We have 2 more sent by publishers. So I got The Lure of Wolves and Whispers by Amanda Connolly. I feel like she's a local author because I've recently been seeing her do a lot of kind of local events here in Toronto. So curious to see. But this one says, for readers of One Dark Window and Fourth Wing, it says it's a propulsive and darkly atmospheric romantasy set in a world where buying buying magic comes with a horrific price. So we have a tyrannical king who banned magic, and there are kind of just whispers of magic in this current time. But for Maeve, our protagonist, those stories are just that. But when her sister one day is gravely injured, Maeve risks impalement on the dreaded Black Key for a chance to buy the forbidden magic that could save her sister, and trades her own life to a ruthless and dangerously alluring rebel leader. So I do like the idea of kind of buying magic, like magic being on this maybe kind of a black market. I feel like that sounds fun. So that's The Lure of Wolves and Whispers. And then for our last one, this one sounds really, really cool, and it also looks really gorgeous. So this is Harbour of Hungry Ghosts by Eliza Chan. The little blurb on this says, Eliza Chan has outdone herself, filled with action, humor, and sassy women. Harbour of Hungry Ghosts is a glorious tribute to the Eastern and Western mythologies and to Hong Kong's richly vibrant history. So in this one, we have like a fantastical version of our world where we have these beasts, I think. So we follow the Ao family, and they serve the people of Hong Kong. They bless shrines, they honor the dead, and they deal with these dangerous monster incursions. When the British disrupt the Hungry Ghosts festival and her grandmother is seized by a strange new monster, Kiam Ling must step up and lead the search. She's aided by unexpected allies, Archie, an earnest civil servant, Hua Gore, the childhood sweetheart turned merchant pirate, okay, and Jing Ling, her younger sister, who is keeping secrets of her own. Kiam Ling must figure out who is behind the incursion and, more importantly, how to defeat them. With British fables mingling with local Chinese monsters, can Kiam Ling prove herself when the old rules no longer seem to apply? So this is a family of demon hunters, and we're set in Opium War era Hong Kong, but yeah, with these kind of mythical monsters. This one sounds really fun. I'm curious to see how this kind of funny, hilarious, quirky writing style will mesh in with this type of story, because every single blurb on the back of this book has words like hilarious, whip smart, snarky humor. So yeah, I'm really curious to see how a more kind of like quirky, light-hearted, funny kind of a writing style will match into a story that is set in the Opium War era Hong Kong with like scary beasts. So really, really curious to see what that one is about. And with that, that ends our book haul for today. So lots of exciting reads to pick up. We'll see if we can get a whole bunch of these on the August TBR. But that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you again for everyone who has liked, commented, watched a video, subscribed, any of that. I'm so proud that we've grown this community to 100,000 at this point, and there will be many, many more celebrations, fun, special celebrations to come that you don't want to miss. So definitely stay tuned. But all that to say, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know out of this book haul which books you would like to see me read first. If you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!